We are just hours away from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton taking the stage. Here with me on set right now is Missouri Congressman and Hillary Clinton supporter Emanuel Cleaver. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Let's just start with, of course, the news of the day. What was your reaction when you heard that leaked video?
Well, I was repulsed, like many Americans, over the tape. But maybe I'm looking at it a little differently. I'm also hurt over the fact that this tape just adds to the volume of news and TV reels talking about members of government. And I think right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, Satan is at a 3 and members of Congress are at 1. And I think this doesn't help. It doesn't matter that Donald Trump is not in Congress. I think they put all this stuff together and it makes everybody look bad. And so that's why I'm hoping that Mr. Trump will say, look, I was dumb, I was stupid, I apologize, I'll lay down on the floor to show how sorry I am for this. Because I don't think the public is just looking at Donald Trump. I think they're looking at the whole, at institutional America. The news media, Congress, everybody, banks, everybody's upset.
As you know, Mr. Trump did apologize. Is that enough?
No, that was a little cute apology that really had nothing in it. When you apologize, you don't apologize with a pivot. You apologize. You say, look, I am sorry, I really messed up. And you don't say, I'm sorry. However, I know somebody who did something worse. I mean, that's not how an apology should be presented to the American public and to women in particular. And so I think that he has to do a sincere apology, and it has to be just him. You don't have to bring anybody else in except him. You know, I got twin boys, and if one of them got in trouble, the other would always say, well, did you look at your other son? I mean, I think you do something wrong, you just stand flat-footed and do it. Donald Trump needs to rooster up and say I'm sorry to the American public and to women in particular.
As you know, Congressman, Hillary Clinton has essentially been silent except for a tweet that said, this is horrific. What do you make of that strategy?
I love it. And the reason is the worst thing that can happen now is for Democrats to overplay their hand. And that has happened in the past. We saw that a few years back with a Senate candidate. And so I think that this is something that Democrats ought to just let happen. I mean, Republicans are dealing with this issue. They're keeping it in the news because they're bailing out on Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton shouldn't say a word. And even tonight, I don't think she should say anything unless he brings it up or unless somebody brings it up from the audience. Because, it's not something that needs to be pushed. Everybody probably on planet Earth knows about it. Everybody on planet Earth has seen that tape, so why bring it up?
So what do you think her approach to this issue should be tonight?
Well, I think it ought to be 100% silence. I think she ought to talk about the issues as much as possible. If he tries to bring in some slime into the conversation by trying to accuse her husband of having been worse, I think that's going to play to his detriment, because I think she should just say, look, I expected you to do this, Mr. Trump, because your whole history is beating up and blaming women. You blame women if they have an abortion, they should go to jail. A woman's husband is guilty of having an affair. Somehow she's to blame. So you're going to blame me for my husband's transgressions. I think the American public is going to side with her on this, and he'll regret tomorrow having brought this up if he does.
So if it is raised, what would you like to hear from her about this?
Well, I think she ought to say, look, my husband and I have had problems like millions of other marriages of people watching this debate. And we've worked through our problems and raised a healthy, bright, successful young woman. And I think we all ought to try to work through difficulties in our marriages. I think, and she is a bright and articulate woman. I think if it comes up, it's going to be to her benefit.
I want to turn to another topic. This week, WikiLeaks released Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's emails, which contain transcripts of Hillary Clinton's speeches to Wall Street firms. Of course, you'll recall during the primaries, this was something that Senator Sanders called on her to do multiple times, is release those transcripts of her paid speeches. Well, in those speeches, she suggested that while she came from a middle-class family, today she lives a very different lifestyle. And I wonder what your thoughts are, Congressman, on this question, because we know from voters who've been asked about this, they don't view her as honest and trustworthy. This has been a continuing issue with her, this notion of transparency, which Senator Sanders raised during the primary contest. What is the argument that she can make to voters now when they see essentially a different sort of side of Hillary Clinton than they'd seen before?
Well, first of all, I think it's extremely important to find out the exact date of that speech, because I think it predates the general election, or frankly the primary. And it was in the primary that Senator Clinton decided that the American public was against TPP and against trade agreements overall. And she went that way because that's where the American public is. So I don't think that's the problem. What she said in those tapes and in that transcript, and I think it's important, is that she said sometime in the future we should have open borders and we should have trade up and down the North American corridor. She was saying, likening it to the EU, where you can go anywhere in the EU. You can go to France, to Germany, to England without your passport. They have open borders, and that's what she was suggesting. She did say in the future. So, you know, it would be better if she hadn't said it, but she did. But I don't think that it's a death nail in her political coffin. I think it's unfortunate, but I think she can discuss it and give even more rational reasoning for her statement than I've just given.
Do you think that releasing the transcripts now in their entirety is something that might help voters make a decision about her transparency?
Well, you know, I think the voters already made a decision about her transparency, and what I'm thinking about now is the next 4 years when she is able to build up the trust of the American public in her. I think she will do that after she's sworn in as president. And I think everybody will tell you, and even Republicans in the Senate, she makes a fabulous legislator. She's not very good in campaigning. She is excellent in serving in the positions to which she aspires politically. So, you know, is it awkward for those of us who support her to defend it? Yes. But I think equivalency is an issue here. The Donald Trump people want to bring this up in comparison to what he said in those tapes, and the equivalency is just not there.
All right. Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, thank you so much for your time, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.